and back in Indy with NFL Network's own Charles Davis. And Charles, it feels good to be back in Indy, doesn't it? After a year away, it's good to be back in the mix.
You know, it's funny. I'm an only child, so me being solitary is part of my nature. But there's no way I ever want to go through what we went through as a nation, as a world again. None of us want to do that. And being back here and seeing everyone, it is almost like a reunion of old friends. You know, to be back here at the Combine is really cool.
Yeah, the energy's good. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff that will be accomplished in between now and the end of the week. Obviously, our folks at NFL Network are going to be very key in getting us from A to Z in that coverage. But let's start here. It's been a very busy, call it 5-6 weeks for the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler are in. They are the new men charged with leading us into this next era of Raiders football. Around the league, kind of what has the consensus been about Dave and Josh stepping into these new roles?
I think it's been overwhelmingly positive. You're talking about people with their pedigree. Remember Josh McDaniels as a head coach with the Denver Broncos. Remember we thought he'd be a head coach with the Indianapolis Colts. And it got to that point of, is he staying at New England trying to stay for Bill Belichick? Is he just wanting to be an offensive coordinator? And then the right thing came along for him. And you know, this was an opportunity for him to get back and do what he wants to do, which is be a head coach. Dave Ziegler's been in the front office with New England. Obviously, Bill Belichick controls that. He's the main guy. But it's not like Dave Ziegler hasn't done the work. And those two coming together, collaborative group, working together, that's what you get. That's when you have the best. Head coach, GM, in lockstep, doing things together. So I don't think that they could have done anything better than to get two guys like that who know what they're doing and have a few rings to show for it.
Absolutely, and we talk about kind of them being in lockstep, and it's something that they've, for obvious reasons, brought up a lot over their first month and a half kind of on the job. But from your point of view, what is the value, the inherent value of bringing two guys essentially as a pair, but not only bringing them in as a pair, but they've worked together, they have a personal relationship, they were college roommates, and the fact that when we go from A to Z throughout the draft process, free agency, or regular season, whatever it is, they have a base of knowledge for how they interact with each other and how they want things done.
And they also know how to solve conflict with each other. If you're college roommates, you didn't get along all the time. Okay, if you're college roommates, one of you's messy, one of you is clean, right? One of you is nocturnal, one of you is early morning guy. You have those things and you know how to work through them and solve all of that. At the end of the day, they're not going to agree on everything, but who has the final call and how do you get there so that both sides walk away with their dignity? They've already worked through that. That's my guess, all right? We have seen friends work together that end up never speaking to each other again. I don't think we got that case here. I think these guys have worked through those things so many different times already. This is an opportunity for them to try and get rings for themselves that don't have New England on them. And what a coup that would be.
Oh, man, absolutely. And you talk about, they've been open about that, too, that they've worked together for so long. It's not like they've been together for 6 months or a year. Like, these are guys who know each other personally, professionally, and I think all of us here in the Raider Nation are very excited about what they're going to do. And, shifting our attention to the field now for the Raiders, an interesting year for the Las Vegas Raiders a year ago. As
Very much so.
Yes, and now we kind of charge into 2022 with this new regime. And there's a lot of pieces in the cupboard. There's a lot of food in the cupboard for this Raiders team, but there's certainly not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. When you look at this team on paper and understanding that this team is going to change a lot, there's going to be so many iterations between now and week one, where do you see them needing to get better to really kind of take that next step in the AFC?
Well, I thought that the edge rush really came along last year. I mean, obviously Max Crosby, but Yannick Ngakoue did a nice job for them as well. Interior, I think those guys played well and they played hard. But that defensive tackle position I still think is a spot of need for them. I think the offensive line, no question about it. Everyone's going to focus on Alex Leatherwood because he was a first-round pick. It wasn't just him. All right, there are a few other guys that they're going to look to fortify and try and get better that way. Wide receiver, obviously the horrific accident that happened, the tragic deal that happened there with Henry Ruggs. You've got to get some people to put with Hunter Renfrow so that everything isn't first in Renfrow, second in Renfrow, third in Renfrow. Right? Also take some pressure off of Darren Waller, although I think Foster Moreau did a really nice job stepping in and helping out with that. But the more depth that they can get at those positions, those would be key for them. But that doesn't mean you neglect anywhere else. And one place I'm thinking is corner. Because when you go back and you think about now, Damon Arnett became a miss for them, right? When you think back now that Casey Hayward stepped in as a free agent last year and played really well, but where do you go from there? Last year, at one point, Brandon Faison was your starting corner.
And played really well for stretches,
Played well for stretches, but is he your long-term answer? Probably not. What if a Derek Stingley slides? Okay, LSU kid going into after his freshman year, he was a top 5 lock pick. Right now, some people have some question marks. Last 2 years, maybe injury. What's this? What's that? Do you turn down that type of talent? Probably not, because the Raider way is speed, talent, you coach it up. even if it's a new regime with Josh McDaniels, there's still an owner named Mark Davis who remembers the Raider way. So I just look at things like that. If someone slides, what happens there? Because he would be awfully intriguing.
And it's such an interesting place to be at 22.
Oh, yeah, don't
right?
forget you got to defend the Chargers, you got to defend the Chiefs, you got to defend the Broncos.
Yeah, you got a lot going on.
And the Broncos have a bunch of receivers, they just work around the quarterback.
Yeah, and it's funny, but being at 22, it feels like it gives you so much kind of flexibility. Like, okay, do we go back? Do we go up? It's a unique place to be because it's not that top 10 pick where you look at, hey, we have 10 guys that we know are studs and going to be there. So it feels like being in that position late in the first round, it gives you a little flexibility as far as Ziegler and McDaniels are concerned.
Gives you flexibility, but also puts you at the mercy of what people do in front of you unless you're going to be aggressive and there's that person that you want. I don't feel like this draft is that draft, that there's that one guy I've got to go get. I think there are a lot of guys at most positions, and this is not a team that's looking for a quarterback. So if you're not looking for a quarterback, you're not having to press anything. You can almost sit there and let the board fall to you and still get a good player.
Yeah, let the board speak to you, right? All the people who are a lot smarter than I do, that's what they tell us every
That's what
year.
they tell us, right? The board whispers.
Yeah.
We let the board speak to us. And sometimes it speaks really well, and sometimes it doesn't speak to you at all.
Sometimes it lies to you a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes it does that.
Yeah, exactly. It's
but
not being honest with you.
I'm really happy for Josh McDaniels, really happy for Dave Ziegler. It's wonderful, but I'd be remiss because personal relationships, Mike Mayock, Rich Bisaccia, what they did to get that team to the playoffs down the stretch, I don't think they can be thanked enough.
Absolutely. And we talk about it all the time. I think history is going to be very kind to
the
2021
and it should
Las
be.
Vegas
They gave their heart and soul to that deal, and the players responded in kind in a very, very difficult situation.
Absolutely. So where can we see you over the next 3-4 days? I know that the
and
combine is a busy time for the
NFL Network. I'm fortunate to be part of the draft coverage there. Daniel Jeremiah and Rich Eisen headlining things for us, and I'll be at the second set with Chris Rose and Peter Schrager and a whole bunch of other people be involved as well. A lot of Hall of Famers down on the field. You know, Willie McGinnis to be down there demonstrating and doing things. Kurt Warner be down there. Steve Smith Sr. We can go on and on. A lot of tremendous players, and I'm really looking forward to one thing. Joe Thomas, who will be in the Hall of Fame. There's a young man from Kentucky that loved Joe Thomas. We're going to get them together.
That's
Kentucky
awesome.
doesn't know it yet. We're going to get them together, and Joe's going to break down his tape for him.
Oh, that's really, really cool. And that's the beauty of the combine, right? It's the beauty of being back here again. We can have those moments. We can have those interactions. We can have those special things between players and former players.
It's really cool.
And that's what it's all about.
His hero,
exactly,
you know?
at the end of the day. Well, Charles Davis, this was a blast, man. I really appreciate you hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck this week, and we'll catch you around, okay?
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.